Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. My name is David Quadrelli. I am joined by Harman Dial, our technical producer. The man at the controls is Jacob Lazar. And like I said, this is Canucks Conversation, and it's a Monday edition of Canucks Conversation, which means we're going to tell you about a weekend slate of games. Canucks play 2 games. We're going to talk about Ovechkin. That's going to come up later, and anyone else, because we've been talking about it all season. It's something obviously everyone has been following all season long. So we're going to talk about it later in the show, but I wanted to start with the first game of the weekend, and that was the one against the Anaheim Ducks. Harm, how was your weekend? Because you went to the Sunday game and I went to the Saturday game. So that worked out pretty nicely, actually. I got my waffles. I got my brunch. Not to throw shade at anyone. Not the best waffle I've had. And not even the best waffle I've had at Rogers Arena.
That's tough.
You
sure your expectations weren't too high? I feel like you were hyping these waffles up for a long time.
You know what, Harm? You're not the first person to ask me that. A couple people that I was eating breakfast with. There was 3 of us at the table, and 2 of the people mentioned that I think my expectations might have been too high.
Waffles are hard to get wrong, though.
Well, they were just a little like it was like they made them a while ago and then just let them warm. You know what I mean? Like buffet, it was buffet style. But you know what? The buffet, the Rogers Arena buffet, like they usually crush it. They absolutely crush it. But yeah, that's what I'm saying is that's not the work. That's not the like I've had better waffles at Rogers Arena from that press box meal that I circle on my calendar every year to go
this
get.
Hard-hitting journalism everyone is here for.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a little, that's the worst thing is when it's like crunchy on the outside because they kept it warm.
Yeah.
But then it's like just kind of stale on the inside, not crunchy, but like not fluffy, soft.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. Do you need me to describe the waffles anymore, or can we move on?
No, thanks.
Game?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's move on.
Okay, Mark said, okay, no waffling. That's a great message from our chat. Our YouTube live chat. I want to tell you about our Super Chat charity partner before we talk about this game. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is the BC Mental Health Foundation. You want to make sure your question or comment gets in the show, hit us with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Jacob, would we be able to come up with a tally of what we've raised for the BC Mental Health Foundation by the end of the year? I feel like that must be in our YouTube dashboard somewhere.
Yes, it's there. I think the plan is we're going to have a tally.
Giant check.
Yeah. I think the plan will be at the start of next season. We're going to do like a whole year-long total because we're still going to be able to collect super chats throughout the summer. So I think the plan is for all of our shows, we're going to do like a September tally for the whole year.
I want to hand a giant check to someone.
Okay, we can get you a giant check.
Okay. All right, let's talk about this game. Saturday, Canucks take down the Anaheim Ducks. And Harman, this one was a game where the Abbotsford Canucks really impressed. And we're going to talk about Abbotsford later because they won't stop winning. They can't lose right now. They just keep winning games. The Abbotsford Canucks in the lineup, in the NHL lineup, making a big impact. And again, that's the thing, Harm, is it's the old Akito Hirose thing, right? It's like, who has something to play for right now? All those Abbotsford guys have a ton to play for. And it's funny because after the game, Max Sasson was asked about this idea of, not taking a shift off. And he's like, you're fighting for your NHL life, or at least he's saying from his perspective, I'm fighting for my NHL life every time I'm out there. So you don't take a shift off. And I think that's evident in the way he plays. That's evident in the way a lot of these guys are playing right now. Linus Karlsson, I think, is looking like the best of the bunch. He's even outplaying Sweet Wheels Nils Amon. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Linus Karlsson right now. Aatu Ratu, of course, also a real bright spot down this stretch of games here. But I did want to talk about Dakota Joshua, who I thought had a really good weekend as a whole. But that 5th goal that the Canucks scored in the first period, because, of course, I'm assuming everybody watched the game, but if you didn't, the Canucks gave up the first goal and then just put a beat down on the Ducks after that in the first period. It was the fastest 5 goals in franchise history over the span of 4.5 minutes. It did feel like the goals just kept coming, and they were coming at rapid speed. Dakota Joshua on that 5th goal, we were talking about him last week, and Tocchet was speaking about how he needs to anticipate a little bit better, and that there's no, let's wait for next year. Offseason training, obviously Joshua's faced a lot of adversity this year. He's faced the injuries. Of course, he had the cancer diagnosis late in the offseason that kind of put him behind the 8 ball to start the year. Tocchet said he was talking to Joshua and just said, use these last games as your get ready for next year. And I think Joshua's really taken that to heart, because one thing that he needs to do in order to succeed, and this is, you'll hear this from him, you'll hear it from Tocchet, is he needs to be ahead of the play. Like, he needs to anticipate, and then he can use his size because he has body position, because he's in the right spot. And this fifth goal that we're watching right now, if you're on the YouTube live show, he makes the play around the boards to keep the cycle moving, and then he just cuts right to the middle. And again, he loses his check in the process. And when he does that, he's right there in the slot. He gets the deflection, and then he's able to bury the loose puck. He gets rewarded with the goal. I just thought that was a really good example of him anticipating really well. And I think it's something we need to see from him down the stretch.
Definitely. And he was, I thought his line was pretty effective last night against Vegas too. I know they got scored on at one point, but overall him, Sherwood and Ratu have looked effective together as a trio. And it's been interesting. I was looking at their numbers together as a line over the last, handful of games. That line generates a lot, but they also seem to give up a lot defensively. So that's probably something for Joshua and Ratu to clean up. But from the offensive perspective, you can tell that they have some chemistry together, especially off the cycle, and recently how they've been finding ways to work the puck off the wall into the slot, which PJ mentioned to me in the press box yesterday, something that they've been working a lot on during practice. So yeah, this is, for him, for Hoglander, for Demko, a lot of guys that have been hampered by injuries or just haven't had the best year. Those are the veterans that actually have stakes to play for down the line, outside of obviously Besser and Suter, who are pending UFAs.
Also thought that Demko was good in that Anaheim game, but I feel like that's more of a footnote. Again, people in the chat are making a good point that, hey, in the end, these games don't really matter. It was nice to see Brock Besser score a goal, of course it was fun. It was fun to watch the Canucks score 5 goals. So don't give me too much crap here. But yeah, in the end, I don't want to go through a whole list of takeaways, but I do want to talk about one guy who you mentioned, Nils Höglander. What a weekend for Nils Höglander. Comes back, and again, this was the quote pregame from Rick Tocchet, and I found this really interesting because obviously Hoglander slotted in for Jonathan Lekkerimäki on Sunday night against the Vegas Golden Knights, and this is what Tocchet said about Hoglander being out. He said it's been really tough for him to be out because before that, he was playing really good hockey for us. He was playing his best hockey those last 5 weeks, so he was a little disappointed because he wanted to get on a roll, but he's worked extremely hard. Hoggy's been really dialed in the last couple months, so hopefully he can give us some juice. Really, he's one of our better forecheckers. Guy scored 24 even-strength goals last year, Harm. Not sure if you heard. Hasn't done that this year, but man, oh man, he really picked up right where he left off. He's, like Tocchet said, he was playing the best hockey of his season, even though he started the season pretty well. Let's also not forget that. But he really, really impressed me with his game last night against Vegas.
Yeah, so since January 1st, he's got 16 points, all of them at 5-on-5 in 33 games. Canucks have controlled just shy of 60% of expected goals during his 5-on-5 shifts, which is the best mark among Canucks forwards. And they've outscored opponents 21-7 with him on the ice. So it isn't just, the last night. It isn't just a few weeks. We're talking about 3 months now where he's been playing really effective hockey. And to me, the other takeaway before I dive into what I saw from him last night is it's becoming clearer to me that Tocchet made a mistake early in the season when he pulled the plug on Hoglander in the top 6 that early in the year. Do you remember that game against Carolina where it was one bad back check and it led to a goal against? It was absolutely a poor play on his part. His effort needed to be better. But through the first few games overall, Hoglander was effective. He was driving play in the top 6. And I think that just cratered his confidence and it hindered him even when he was playing further down the lineup. And I think it took Tocchet too long to then elevate him back into the top 6. I just don't think Tocchet managed Hoglander the best this season. I think Hoglander could have had a much better year under different circumstances. I'm not trying to absolve him of all responsibility because Hoglander's decision-making at times, his defensive play, they haven't been good enough. But I think to a certain extent, he's been mismanaged this year as a player too. And having said that, his performance last night against Vegas was really, really encouraging because it's one thing to play well in bottom 6 minutes and to have and to win your matchups and have nice play driving numbers. It's a feather in your cap in a different way when you do it on the first line when you're primarily matched up against Jack Eichel line. Now, the Eichel line started to really take over, and Vegas as a whole did in the third period. But through the first 40 minutes, that line with Hoglander, Suter, and Besser was fast. They were direct. They were aggressive. They obviously scored. Hoglander netted that rebound goal in the first period. And the Eichel line was caved in its own end for the most part until they came alive in the final frame. So that's the encouraging part too, is it's not just in soft minutes against other third and fourth lines.
Yep.
Now it's against, okay, these are legit good teams, good lines that Hoglander is having success against. So yeah, really effective. He was driving controlled entries. Really liked his play last night.
3-year extension kicks in next year at $3 million. Something we've talked about before is, do the Canucks need to move off of Nils Höglander this offseason? I raised you this question from LC250. Let me get to this because you'll want to respond to this and then say what you were about to say. LC250 said this: Hogs has 9 points in his last 11 games. He's on pace for 67 points in an 82-game season. Is this going to be the Hoggy we can expect for next season as well?
No.
Okay.
Because I've mentioned this before. Remember when Hoglander signed his extension? And in the preseason, I was mentioning how outside of 20 goals and the 36 to 36, how I just didn't anticipate him having a ton more upside. Back saying, why can't he be a 50, 60 point guy? And my counter was, he's not a power play producer. I don't think he has a skill set on the man advantage. All of his production is going to have to come at 5-on-5, and it is like you're never going to be a 60-plus point guy if you're solely reliant on even strength production. For me, Hoglander next year, a good season for him would be another campaign where it's similar to last year, right? 50, like the high teens to 20 goal range. 35 to 40 points, but most crucially, if you can drive 5-on-5 play, if all that production comes at even strength and you elevate your line mates, you help your line as a whole attack and create chances and win their minutes, then all of a sudden you're a player that's more valuable than just your raw point totals. And that I think is your hope for Hoglander next year, is can he be like a 40-point guy who is more valuable than just the pure point totals because of what he does to drive play, create controlled entries, and elevate his line mates. Again, to sort of be like a poor man's Connor Garland.
I'm going to raise your situation, okay? This stretch from Nils Höglander, this season from Nils Höglander, what he's done in the past is enough to get you like a solid middle six center. Not a real second line center, but let's say you can go trade for Nils Höglander. Maybe he's a part of a package. I don't know. Nils Höglander is a piece that can help you improve your team's center depth. Do you still make a trade for Nils Höglander, or trade Nils Höglander this offseason? Because I remember we were talking about it, and really what I said was, well, I think he's negative value, so definitely not. But I don't think he's negative value right now. I don't, especially on that contract. I don't think he's negative value. And I think ultimately, even with that, I still think really long and hard about it, but I probably lean toward, no, I wouldn't trade Nils Höglander because you need those impact scorers, and especially at 5-on-5.
Well, I think Hoglander's value to this team as a player is higher than what his market value would be in a trade. Again, I don't think he has negative trade value, but I also don't think he's a piece that teams would be jumping all over to try and get. It'd be a different story if it was his last contract where he only makes 1.1 or whatever it was against a cap. But at $3 million, that's all of a sudden, like, I just don't think he is a piece that moves the needle in your attempt to acquire a centerman. If anything, I would expect teams to be calling on, DPD, Willander. Like, if you're talking about targeting a center, like, those are the names that teams are going to be asking about. And so to me, I think you keep Hoglander simply because he's more valuable to this roster than he is as a trade chip. But I do think it's interesting that the Canucks are sort of entering this territory where I was having this conversation with PJ, and it was sort of related to the Pia Suter conversation. The Canucks have a lot of cap space tied up into forwards who would not be top 6 options on contending teams. Right? You've got just shy of 4.5 committed to Hedl, 3.25 to Joshua,
Garland.
3 million to Hoglander. Garland, I think you could argue, could be a second liner on a good team, so I'm not including him in that conversation.
Sure.
And then Drew O'Connor, 2.5 million too. So just those guys combined, not including Garland, that's 13.15 million. To forwards who aren't top 6 options on contending teams. And we see that a lot of contenders, their cap structure is different, right? Again, the conversation PJ and I had was the Knights, they have their 2 big ticket contracts with Eichel and Stone. Those guys are worth it. Then they have their second tier of players who are on significant contracts but are like high-end top 6 guys. The Hurdle tier, the Barbashev, William Karlsson, and then everybody else is cheap. Like when you get to the, outside of Nick Waugh, you get to the Dorofeyev range, the Victor Olofsson, even further down when you get to the Tanner Pearsons. So the Canucks structure is kind of different, and I wonder if when we're having this conversation about Pia Suter, right, is that something the Canucks have to be mindful of? And if you're asking me, what does that mean they should do? It's tough to say right now because it all hinges on what's the opportunity cost of that cap space, right? You need to kind of have second order thinking. You can't look at, the cap space you have committed to some of these guys and go and sort of go, well, let's just move off these guys to create the cap space and then think about who we're going to go after. You're kind of going to need to have a target in mind in advance because a lot of teams are going to have cap space, and the pool of impact players at the top of your lineup in free agency on the trade market isn't very high. So that's just something to be mindful of from a team building perspective. Big picture with the Canucks is, even though they lack high-end talent up front in their top 6, they still have a fair amount of money committed to these like middle of the lineup forwards.
Would you trade a prospect? I know we're getting a little off topic. I don't want to get this Tocchet clip as well, but you just said it. Like, teams are going to be calling. This team needs to improve their center depth. Would you trade a guy like DPD?
My preference is no, but you have to give to get, right? I think DPD is going to be a really successful defenseman in this league. I love so many of his attributes, but you also have to be mindful of the fact that you've got Quinn and Marcus Pettersson on the left side locked up long term. Your defense is a strength, and for the right centerman, yeah, I'd consider including him in a package, because how else are you going to acquire that guy?
Here's the thing I think of, and I agree with you, but I also look at it this way to everybody who would say, no, don't. If we all agree that the goal is to keep Quinn Hughes here, you can sign somebody who is at the level of Elias Pettersson to play on your third pair for next season. And that's the season that really matters. We wrote about this at Canucks Army over the weekend, that the Hughes deadline should basically start now. Like, this next season is a big season for the Canucks, because this is your season to convince Quinn Hughes to stay long-term. I know he's got 2 years left, but when they go to sign that extension on July 1, which they will have a pretty good idea whether or not Quinn Hughes is going to want to be here long-term. And look, like, it's not a victory for the Canucks if Quinn Hughes on that July 1st says, you know what, I just want to play out this season. I just want to see how this goes. I don't want to sign an extension right now. I just want to see how it goes. You can't do that. It's not something the Canucks are going to let happen, nor can they let it happen. So this one matters. Like, this upcoming season really matters. And I'm not saying go all in, trade all your prospects, but you also have to look at it realistically and say, like, okay, if Tom Hoglander has a higher ceiling than Elias Pettersson, right? And hey, maybe they think about trading Tom Hoglander. I think that one would give me a lot more pause, but like you said, you have to give to get. I look at a guy like Elias Pettersson, and the thing that you have to kind of look at is say, what's he going to do for this team next year? Can we replace that for cheap in free agency? And I think the answer is yes. Like, realistically, he is going to play behind Quinn Hughes. He is going to play behind Marcus Pettersson. Maybe at best, he's an elite third pairing guy. Maybe, right? Can you replace that in free agency for a pretty low cost? Yeah, you can. You can. We see it every year. You know, I'm not saying Derek Forbert's going to be that guy for them, but a Derek Forbert type or someone who you know can really bring some value somewhere in your lineup, whether that be on the PK, preferably the PK when you actually look at the Canucks blue line, preferably it's penalty killer. I look at it that way and say, yeah, I really, really, really like Elias Pettersson, like him a lot, but you have to give to get. And I kind of look at him as being a guy that I look at and say, yeah, he's probably the easiest player on this team to trade. When you look at, you know, if it's Lekkerimäki or Hoglander, I think I'd probably pick DPD out of those three.
Yeah, and the point isn't we're banging the drum. Oh, you got to aggressively shop him in summer, and you're looking to capitalize on his value because it's at a premium. It's more just when you're making these calls to add this top 6 center that they desperately need, teams are going to be asking about DPD. And at some point you can't keep all your top prospects and still acquire the center you want.
Doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Not in a competitive league. Not in a competitive league like the NHL. Calvin 99 Charlie said trading DPD will be the stupidest thing Vancouver has done. Karn, nah, the Canucks have done stupider. Mark said DPD's a gem. Stuart Hunter doesn't like the idea of a different team having an Elias Pettersson. The Canucks,
and I hate it too. Again, I think he's going to be a good defenseman, and I would be reluctant at first, but for the right guy, this is the thing too. When we're talking about a centerman, it's not like I don't want to move DPD in a trade for like Pavel Zacha, right? Like that doesn't appeal to me. That's not exciting. He's not a big enough name. He's not. I don't love where he's at, even in terms of his age necessarily.
Yeah, this is part of a package. This isn't DPD 1-for-1 for a top 6 center. This is part of a package.
Yeah, and it would be for a higher profile guy.
Yeah,
hopefully,
exactly.
You'd presume. Hopefully. like if we're coming, like that would be rough if you're moving one of your your prime prospects for a Zacha type center. It's not great.
This one's from Brad, and I'll answer this one, even though he asked you. He said, Harm, would there be a market for Marcus Pettersson on that contract? Eye test tells me he's poor at rush defense and terrible at passing. He's good at the PK and in-zone D. Third pairing D-man doesn't fit the window. That's from Brad. The thing to note, Marcus Pettersson's contract extension that kicks in next year, and I like Marcus Pettersson. I don't necessarily agree with everything Brad's saying there. It's got a no-move clause that kicks in next year, and you're not going to be able to trade him past the draft.
Jim Rutherford also loves Marcus Pettersson.
Yeah, they're not trading Marcus Pettersson.
I will know.
What do you think about the criticisms of the player?
I mean, Brad's not wrong that Marcus Pettersson has struggled defending the rush at times over the last few weeks. I actually, the scouting report that he kind of gave on like his in-zone defense has been good. He's been really sharp on the penalty kill, struggled at times defending the rush, and his breakouts have only been okay lately. He's right. But I would disagree with the assertion that he's a third pair defenseman because he's still doing this in a second pair role where he's playing difficult minutes, matching up against top competition. And for the most part, since he's gotten to Vancouver, the Canucks have been about break even at controlling play. So I still look at him as a quality second pair defenseman. He's not a perfect player, but no, that I wouldn't be even put it this way. Even if the Canucks had even if the Canucks had an opportunity where there was no NMC on Marcus Pettersson's contract, it wouldn't make sense to be shopping him. And I'll say this, it's easy to get carried away when you look at DPD's success playing 11 minutes a night when he's not getting defensive zone starts, when he's mostly playing against fourth liners, and think, oh, the difference between him and let's say Marcus Pettersson isn't that big. Trust me, it's mammoth. And I'm not saying, oh, DPD will never get to the point where he's as good a player as Marcus Pettersson, but the difference between logging 21, 22 minutes a night, first PK unit guy, matching up against McKinnon when the Avs are in town, versus when you're playing so sheltered, literally 11 minutes a night type of a situation, sheltered matchups, not getting many D zone starts, it's night and day. It's not even remotely comparable. It's why when Eric Branson was crushing it in third pair role, how many times would you be like, oh, he's the next Gustav Forsling? I'd be like, dude, his minutes are so sheltered, and I like him, and I wanted him at the lineup at the time, but that's why you kind of had to pump your brakes. And again, I'm not obviously trying to compare DPD to Eric Brandstrom because DPD is a much more promising project. But like, let's pump the brakes when it comes to like how quickly we expect like DPD and Victor Mancini to like their ceilings and how quickly they're potentially going to be top 4 guys.
And hey, this team misses Tyler Myers right now. That's another takeaway from the weekend. Victor Mancini's not looked very good playing alongside Quinn Hughes. That pairing has gotten absolutely shelled. And I know Quinn hasn't been at his best, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not Quinn Hughes' fault that pairing is getting shelled at 5-on-5.
Yeah, and like we've seen this with Hirose, we've seen this with Jack Rathbone. I remember end of the 2021 campaign, Rathbone legitimately looked really solid in the third pair role, and I thought, okay, next season he can be a full-time everyday third pair defenseman, and it just didn't pan out. Now, in Mancini's case, we saw the positive first impression he made, where as a number 60 man, he showed a lot of promising physical traits, the speed, the size, and I mean, we were giving him a lot of praise and props for how good he looked. But this is the dynamic I'm talking about, right? Is when you're in a higher leverage spot, you like the job is so much more difficult, and we've seen that over the last couple of games. Against Anaheim, the Canucks were outshot 14-2 and controlled less than 10% of expected goals with Mancini and Hughes on the ice at the same time. And in the Vegas game, I thought the seams showed again. Mancini had a few shaky moments defensively. There was you're seeing that his reads and processing the game from a defensive standpoint, it's going to be a work in progress. There was an offensive zone draw in the first period where Vegas won it. Mancini dives in. It's a 3-on-1. And watching it live, we were in the press box going, how the hell did Vegas get a 3-on-1 off an offensive zone draw that the Canucks had? And then you watched it back and it was, Mancini dove in. And those are just the cardinal sin type mistakes that you can't make in that type of spot. The eventual game winner that Vegas scored late in the third period, he's got to have his stick in the lane to deny the pass into the slot. Even the second period, though, very similar play where for Carlson one time where Mancini was sort of positioned in the right spot, but just couldn't block the passing lane. I thought his puck touches were kind of rough. And I should clarify, too, I'm not trying to criticize him or say, he's never going to figure it out in the NHL or anything along those lines. He's 22 years old. The point in the overall takeaway is just, and a lot of this is for me too, because I feel like after the first few games, I even got a little bit carried away, sort of looking at him, breaking the puck out and the size and going, ooh, what could this guy be? It's even for me, like I'm going, okay, this is a reminder that just like, let's pump the brakes with how optimistically we project these guys. We know that he's an interesting project because of the athletic tools he has, but his hockey IQ doesn't look NHL caliber right now. And so he's raw. And I also think to next season, there's going to be a lot of competition for him to earn minutes on that blue line because DPD can play the right side.
Höglander.
You know that Höglander coming in, and you already know that Hronek and Myers are locks.
Yep. LC250 said this: Mancini feels like he needs some more time in Abbey. Good thing he's waiver exempt for 2 more years after this season, unless he plays 70 NHL games. I wrote about the waivers last year, and yes, LC250 was correct. No waivers for Mancini next year.
I'll also say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
S. Little Boston in the chat said Mancini is better. Oh, I thought he said Mancini is better than Forbort. He said Mancini is better with Forbort. I agree. Yes. Yeah. My bad. Totally misread that.
It's all good. That's very funny. Just bring up that's like a quads move. Just bring up someone who has a take that you like.
Like S. Little Boston has good takes. So I was like,
absolutely.
I was gonna be a little bit disappointed if he was saying Mancini's better than Forbort right now. But no, his take is his bang on there.
All right. Thanks for that, Harm. Okay, let's last thing on the weekend. Last thing on the weekend games. I want to get to this clip. It was post game last night. It was Rick Tocchet just trying to kind of close out our conversation about Hoglander and the weekend games. This is what Rick Tocchet had to say about Nils Höglander, really the rest of the Canucks team as well.
He's been working on a position to get a puck. I think a lot of guys can learn from Hoggy. you got to move your feet and know the puck's going to come to you before it's coming. I think that's where Hoggy's really improved. At the beginning of the year, I thought he wasn't seeing that. Now he's seeing it. He's coming back with speed. He's taking the puck in the middle. He's trying to make a play. The odd time he gets in trouble is when he doesn't have any pace and he tries to make a play. That's the only time he has in trouble. But for the most part, he's one of the guys that's really trying to get some speed to the neutral zone.
If I told you 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, that at any point in the season, Rick Tocchet would say, I think a lot of guys can learn something from Hoggy, would you have believed me?
No.
Probably not. Probably not. But I did want to get that and give Hoglander his props. Again, a guy we're watching very closely down these final 5 games. With that, let's get to our poll question. He's in it. Our poll question is brought to you by Pacific Toyota dealers who want to tell you about the 100% electric Toyota BZ4X, an SUV packed with plenty of space. The BZ4X can handle any terrain and can take you from the city to the slopes. It's backed by the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're driving a Toyota. And if you're driving a BZ4X, you get access to HOV lanes even if you're driving alone. We've got a new deal for you when you choose the BZ4X. You can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives. And now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Okay, poll question. It's simple. Which player will play the most games for the Canucks in their career? The results of this actually kind of surprised me. We did Nils Höglander, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, and Tom Hoglander. The top 2 vote getters are Elias Pettersson and Tom Hoglander, followed by Jonathan Lekkerimäki and Nils Höglander. I got to say, I thought Nils Höglander was going to be the runaway favorite with this one.
Well, he has a leg up with nearly 300 NHL games played. So that's I understand where you're coming from there. I'm just a little bit more surprised that DPD won. And I get it. I expect him to play a lot of NHL games. I'd probably have Hoglander up there number 1 right now, though, just because I've been watching some of his tape in the NCAA and I'm working on an article on what the Canucks could expect from him, not just in the short term, but just big picture, looking at his game. What style of defenseman does he profile as? And Hoglander, he may not end up having the highest ceiling, especially offensively, but he has such a polished, reliable game where his floor, he is going to be an everyday NHL player. There's no doubt in my mind. The way he defends, the way he skates, the pedigree too helps in earning opportunities, especially as a right side guy, natural right shot. That Tyler Myers isn't going to be able to play top 4 minutes forever. I would bank on Hoglander. Love it. But I also expect DPD to have a long career.
Hoglander.
And I expect Lekkerimäki to develop into an impact player eventually. I expect all those guys to play many NHL games in their career.
Let's get to anyone else, because I want to get this comment from Brad right off the top of anyone else. Okay, listen up, folks. Anyone else is brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. Got something to tell you about. We've made the event on Thursday a free event. If you bought tickets, we refunded you, so you're good. But Greta Bar YVR, we still have the VIP package available if you want to get that, because obviously that comes with more. But free entry. If you want to enter, it's free. Come hang out with us Thursday, April 10th. Vancouver versus Colorado, 6 p.m. Presented by Fountain Tire in support of Kids Sport Vancouver. Must be 19 plus still, so don't forget that part, even though it's free. Must be 19 plus. Make sure you come out. We're going to have a ton of fun. We're going to do a lot of different stuff. Okay, Jacob, can we do Family Feud at Greta? Is that possible?
I'll have to think about it. You know what? We probably could, although I don't think Harm can make it. Otherwise, I could have figured it out, and plus I'm gonna have to leave early because I gotta handle rink-wide production that night. So,
well, you come hang out with me, folks. It'll be a lot of fun.
It's a good idea. That might be something we have to do next year, doing a live Family Feud from Greta.
Yeah, absolutely. But Thursday is gonna be a lot of fun. I'll be there, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Make sure you come out. Come hang out. You got the street food. You got the arcade. You got the bar. And hey, I'll still play anybody in basketball. I'll pay for your basketball game too. Seriously, I will. You don't need to go buy a card. I'll buy your basketball game to face off against me in basketball. I think I could do it. I can pull it off. Okay, Thursday, April 10th. Make sure you buy your tickets. Oh, wait, no, there's no tickets anymore. Don't buy tickets. Just come out.
Unless it's the VIP, and we had Paul Papadoulis in the chat. What's included in the VIP? It's four. It's for a group of 4, and you get 4 smash burgers, 4 drinks, and a game card. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
And the smash burgers are delicious. That's a good deal. I should hold on. Is that really what it is? We should advertise that a lot more. That's a great deal.
There might not be the drinks in there, but definitely the burgers and the game cards for sure. And I think there was 4 drinks as well.
So come on out. Greta's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. How do I buy the VIP package? What does it come with? Oh, wow. Burger, beverage, and game card. Wow.
It's a great deal.
It is a good deal. Okay. All right. Greta Bar YVR. Come check us out. Thursday, April 10th, 6 p.m. Come hang out. It's going to be a good one. Brad said this about DPD Harm. DPD is a Matthias Ohlund clone. He will have a long career.
He'll have a long career, but I also I've seen so many people comparing it. Oh, he's the next Alex Edler or this and that. It's like, let's pump the brakes before we compare DPD to the best, some of the best defensemen in franchise history. Now, I know Canucks obviously haven't had the most illustrious group of defensemen in their franchise, but I mean, Edler and Ohlund is a really freaking high bar to set, and yeah, I agree. DPD is going to have a long NHL career. I'm sure of it because of the clear identity he has with his physical edge, how well he can break the puck out for being such a big man. I expect him to eventually develop into a quality penalty killer. But this is what I'm saying, right? We get a little bit drunk off the prospects down the stretch. And let's pump the brakes on their ceilings and how quickly we expect them to be top 4 or top pair studs.
Will you give me Gustav Forsling on Elias Pettersson?
No quads, I won't.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, I had a couple things I wanted to get to. Mentioned off top, Alex Ovechkin broke the all-time goals record, 895 career goals. He scored it against the New York Islanders. What did you think of this? Did you see it, first of all? Did you watch the game?
They caught it, yeah.
Okay, so they did this ceremony right after. I didn't have a stopwatch going, but it felt like 20, 25 minutes. And you know what? I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was great. I thought it was really good theater. I thought it was great. The game continued, and it was fine. Everyone complaining. It was fine. History was made. You needed that moment. I thought it was awesome. I thought the NHL did a fantastic job with it. Wayne Gretzky just shouting out the refs out of nowhere was a little weird, but it was a good moment nonetheless, and I really like to see that. It's rare to get to see something like that. I think I don't know if we'll ever see it get broken again. Although I know everybody in Toronto thinks Austin Matthews is going to do it somehow. I don't think that's going to happen. It's rare to see something like that happen. So witnessing that history was really cool. I will say that.
It was such a perfect way to break the record too, right? Just from his office at the left circle, just straight up overpowering a goaltender with the release there. That's just vintage Ovi.
Yeah, and Ilya Sorokin, no longer part of the elusive club of goaltenders who haven't given up a goal to Ovechkin. Now, the goaltenders who haven't given up a goal to Ovechkin, who have faced him and not had a goal scored against them, they are all getting a celebratory can from Budweiser. I'm not sure if you saw this. Colin Delia, Braden Holtby, not when they were with the Canucks, but those 2 goaltenders are among the goaltenders who are getting one. And Kevin Lankinen, who played 2 games against the Capitals this year and didn't give up a goal to Alex Ovechkin. Kevin Lankinen, not only that, Kevin Lankinen is among goaltenders on that list who haven't given up a goal to Ovechkin, who have faced the most shots. I think Kevin Lankinen's faced him 3 times, and he's faced 13 shots against Ovechkin. So Kevin Lankinen's got a perfect save percentage against Alex Ovechkin, and he is the only goaltender in Canucks franchise history. Well, I shouldn't say franchise history. Only Canucks goaltender who has faced Alex Ovechkin in a Canucks game and not given up a goal. Luongo did it many times, but he still gave up 4 over his career. So I think Luongo has the best save percentage of goalies who faced Ovechkin. I think that might be true. Certainly on the Canucks. But I did want to bring that up because I wrote about it over at Canucks Army today. The goalies who got torched for 2 goals, the goalies who, who Ovechkin kind of terrorized over the years when his first goal was. I did that. It was all in a look back over at CanucksArmy.com. And I did also point out Ovechkin broke the road goals record in Vancouver. Do you remember this? 2 years ago, 2022. He scored consecutive goals in a 5-1 Capitals win to tie Gretzky's record and break the record on the same night. I was there that night.
I'll be honest, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it's in the article. Jacob will link it in the YouTube chat. CanucksArmy.com. Check it out. Lots of good stuff over at CA today, but I wanted to bring that up because I did the, I did the article today this morning. So I was like, okay, I gotta plug it on the show since it's pretty topical with Ovechkin breaking the record. Anything else on that you wanted to talk about?
No. I mean, I also, the only thing I'll mention actually is just, yeah, he broke Gretzky's goal record and it looks close, but era adjusted, Ovechkin's numbers in goal scoring wise, you count for the era that he played in compared to Gretzky. It's a massive difference, and I'd encourage people to look at Hockey Reference. They actually have era adjusted numbers, and the difference between Ovechkin and the lead that he has on Gretzky, when you account for that, is much greater than you might expect.
Yeah, you don't need to tell me twice. Although I will say, damn, it always boggles my mind that the Gretzky assist record, where it's like he has more assists than anyone else has points. That's
wild.
That's just crazy. Like, that's crazy. That's such an insane stat. And I don't, Jacob, other sports. Are there any other sports where that's the case, where like the GOAT is at that level where it's just like so, like, here's the thing. Yeah, we're talking about Alex Ovechkin. Yeah, he's the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game. Evidently, right? I think we can all agree on that. Greatest pure goal scorer in the history of the game. But every other sport, like even baseball, like Babe Ruth, Shohei Ohtani, Willie Mays, that's your three. Barry Bonds, you could throw him in that conversation, right? I just named 4 guys who you could make good cases for being the GOAT. And I mean, in hockey, I know people make the Mario Lemieux argument, and if you haven't, folks, recently, like, go look at the points per game on Mario Lemieux, and there's definitely a debate to be had, but for the most part, there's no real regular debate about who the greatest hockey player of all time is, and that is Wayne Gretzky. Is there anyone else that's just a runaway GOAT like that? Like, even, I know basketball, Michael Jordan, but he's also got LeBron right there, and I think Michael Jordan's better than LeBron, before people come at me, but there's still that conversation, you know what I mean? I just don't think we'll ever see a player, like even Connor McDavid, who's like the greatest player of his generation, like he's not even gonna get close to Gretzky.
Yeah, and you're right. There's no other sport where you can really look at one guy alone.
Who's the football GOAT?
I mean, you'd argue Tom Brady, but football is so weird because, like, positions,
systems QB.
Well, and like I don't necessarily agree that he is the most talented football player of all time. Like he won the most championships because he was a winner, but like you can't really have that debate with football as easily because you have 11 guys on the field and they all do very, very different things, right? So comparing like a wide receiver to a quarterback is like comparing a goalie to a center.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? It's completely different. Football is the interesting one because there's no, like, other than Brady, if you want to just look at it because of how good he was at winning championships, there is no clear. And I think talent-wise, some people would probably say, like, if you go back in time, you'd probably look at a guy like Tim Brown as a running back when he was just the best football player on the planet in the 60s, but like he's not.
Who the hell? Where are we going with Tim Brown? Who the hell is Tim Brown?
Tim Brown was a not Tim Brown. I meant Jim Brown.
Oh.
Tim Brown was
now I know.
Now we know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Jim Brown was a running back with the Cleveland Browns. But football's weird because there's no clear Ovechkin or not Ovechkin, sorry, no clear Gretzky to look at.
Yeah.
And basketball, you kind of have the two, but even then there's, after LeBron and Jordan, there's probably like 7 or 8 guys that are right behind.
Yeah.
Hockey's the weird one. It's always been the outlier.
Cool. That's super cool. Nobody's ever going to touch that. Okay. Did I have anything else? Oh yeah, speaking of Ovechkin, you see this from the Canucks? They got absolutely flamed on social
Oh
media.
yeah.
We're not gonna pile on, but we are gonna bring it up. I did get a good laugh. Canucks auctioning off Ovechkin signed jerseys. My only question was just like, where did they get these?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is just like, as he was walking past, there's like, hey, just quickly, real quick, in your signature, pull the old, please sign this permission slip. But they don't show him that it's a jersey, and he just signs it. And they just collected these over the years. Yeah, they signed Ovechkin jersey auctions.
Yeah, I wonder how the Caps feel. I mean, they probably don't care, but just optics wise, it's funny that the Canucks are profiting off selling Ovechkin jerseys. I don't know
if anyone else did this. So chat, let me know, because I did try to look, and I looked at a lot of teams' Twitter accounts, and I didn't see anyone else doing this. So just let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe another team did it. Something cool I thought the Islanders did was anybody who bought a ticket to that game, since tickets are all digital now, they were doing printing of those tickets so that you could have your ticket stub. I thought that was really cool that the Islanders did that. But that's the closest thing I could find to another team, doing a keepsake. But they were the home team, so I think that's cool that the Islanders did that. Anyways, some comments flying in. I'm not going to read them, but if anybody knows if another team did that, let me know, because I'd like to know. I really would like to know. Okay. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to get to?
Not really.
Okay. I think that's it. I thought I had something else. That'll come back to me. We have a show tomorrow. We have a show 5 days a week here.
One thing I want to pull up here. I did grab Jim Brown's football stats. Played from 1957 to 1965. He led the league in rushing yards every year of his career except for one. He was so in his 9-year career, he was a 9-time Pro Bowler, an 8-time All-Pro, 3-time MVP. He was kind of like the first football GOAT. So for those of you who don't follow football, Jim Brown was kind of like, he was the first absolute superstar when it came to the NFL. Like at the time, college football was still kind of viewed as more important than the NFL, and then Jim Brown came around. So shout out to James Nathaniel Brown.
Who's the baseball GOAT?
In my opinion,
don't say Babe Ruth.
I'm not going to say Babe Ruth.
Okay. Babe Ruth is the most like casual answer that you could give.
I would have said Babe Ruth.
I know the steroid stuff just makes it so complicated because it should be Barry Bonds. Like the guy had 7 MVPs in his career. He's a home run king. He got intentionally walked like more than once per game during his prime. Like he got intentionally walked with the bases loaded over 30 times in his career. Teams looked at him and said, we would rather give up a run than let this guy swing the bat against us because he's that dangerous. He used steroids, but like 60% of the league was using steroids at the same time as him. So
exactly. I've got Barry Bonds, number 1. I probably put Shohei Ohtani, number 2, but you got to see more. I think it needs to be a longer career because just doing it in this day and age, it's similar to what Harmon was saying. Like, the plumbers that Babe Ruth was playing against, not to get too down into the baseball weeds of it all, but I do have Babe Ruth number 3, but I also think Willie Mays is pretty interchangeable as the number 3 in that spot. And really, I would put, actually, no, new official ranking. Barry Bonds, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, Shohei Ohtani. And you can swap 3 and 4. And then Hank Aaron. Harmon, your top 5. Go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's start with Edwin Encarnacion.
Edwin Encarnacion. Awesome.
So let's go with what was that? Kevin Pillar.
You're just naming the
Jose Bautista.
Yeah, I love it. The last time Harmon watched
Josh
baseball.
Donaldson, obviously number 1.
MVP.
And then throw in a little Aaron Sanchez.
Little what was that guy's name? Who's the Italian guy? Chris Caballero?
Chris Colabello.
I got him confused with Jose Caballero. That hasn't happened in years. Yeah. Chris Colabello. Another guy who did steroids.
Yeah. He like denied it and still to this day denies it.
But he tested positive for steroids, I should say that. And weirdly enough, had the best year of his career right before testing positive for steroids. Profar? There's a name.
But Colabello's a good Italian boy, Quads. Can't Can't hold him down.
I know.
Paul
I love,
Skeens 1 to 5, just copy and pasted.
love it. Okay, let's wrap it up. Let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day. What do we like today, fellas? Are there NHL games on tonight? Oh yeah, there's a few. Okay. Whoa. What happened? Did the Oilers play yesterday or something? Why are the Ducks like slight underdogs over the Oilers?
The Oilers did play last night, I believe.
Okay, well that should mean that they start Calvin Pickard tonight, I would think. I don't know. I'm still going Oilers. I'm not doing any research. Don't.
Oh no, sorry, no. The Oilers played Saturday night, 3-0 loss to the Kings.
Easy. Okay, well they're gonna take care of business against the Anaheim Ducks. Jacob, I'm not allowed to use the term lock, correct?
Correct. You cannot
All right.
say that.
All right. Edmonton Oilers. Now the Bet365 read starts now. Okay, this is our Bet365 bet of the day. Minus 155 Oilers money line against the Anaheim Ducks. That is what I'm taking. That is our Bet365 bet of the day, brought to you by Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat-trick, power play, goal, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older, and I can't stress this part enough. Please play responsibly. Also, last thing on the watch party, I just got a brand new shipment of new Canucks Army merch. And this beautiful hat that I'm wearing, you can see it there, the Canucks Army fist with a really sharp neon green outline. It's just, it's sleek. It's a trucker hat, which I've really started to wear as I've gotten older. I like those trucker hats a lot, like my Milwaukee hat, but I've got my Canucks Army hat here. We're going to be giving these away, and I'm going to be giving a lot of them away. I have a big shipment here, and honestly, I don't want it in my house, so I'm going to give it all away. Usually I save some of it for future events. This is our last one of the year. We're going to go out with a bang. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm going to give people a lot of stuff. So if you want a Canucks Army hat, I think I have like 4 or 5. Just let me know. First come, first serve. Just let me know if you want a hat. I'll give you a Canucks Army hat. Don't be shy. Come to the event, free event, walk away with some free merch. It's going to be a really good time. Greta Bar YVR, Thursday, 6 p.m. We will wrap it up there. For my co-host, Harmon Dial, and our technical producer, Jacob Lazar. My name is Dave Guajelli. Thanks so much for this episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.